Don't let compliments get to your head and criticism to your heart. Today we will discuss how to handle criticism. A mathematics teacher wrote the table of 9 on the board. After writing, she faced the children and found them laughing at her. She asked them the reason for their laughter. They were hesitant to say anything. However, one of the students stood up and said, "Teacher, the last line of the table you wrote on the board is wrong. It is not 9 into 10 is equal to 89. It is 9 into 10 is equal to 90. The teacher smiled and calmly said, "Children, I have deliberately committed this error. Through this incident, I want to teach you something very important. People will not appreciate 1,000 good deeds done by you. However, they will criticize you for a single mistake you commit, no matter what you do or how well you do it. Criticism is eventually going to come your way. And those moments are often some of the toughest you all face in work and life. At the same time, we must realize that criticism is intended for improvement. The Second World War hero Winston Churchill likened criticism to pain in human body, an unpleasant experience that is necessary for growth and learning. Generally, we associate criticism exclusively with negative feedback. Parents criticize their child's school. Children criticize their parents for barging in their personal space. Spouses criticize about each other's mistakes. Social media postings are full of criticism. At workplaces, superiors see criticism as a necessary part of their job responsibility for getting done the work with prescribed standard, time, and cost. One Harvard Business Review found that 57% of workers preferred constructive criticism, while 43% preferred praise or recognition. In addition, 72% of those surveyed said they thought their performance would improve if their managers would provide corrective feedback. Many psychologists agree that eventually criticism does not lead people to change behavior. Instead, it pushes them to defense mechanism. Various surveys show that there is far more criticism at workplace than need be. It's a paradox. On the one hand, it is considered criticism isn't effective to change one's behavior. On the other hand, criticism at work is part of the normal interaction between managers and subordinates everywhere. Why do people criticize others? Criticism is not necessarily a bad thing. It helps us to navigate the world and our relationships in an objective way. It forces people to introspect and their behavior, attitude, and work, and so on. Criticizing others is often an unconscious defense mechanism. Sometimes people are critical because they are projecting their own insecurities on others. Psychologists say that hypercritical people were routinely criticized in their early childhood. When we receive criticism, our brain tries to protect us from the threat it perceives. In the pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, criticism can be placed pretty high, perhaps in the self esteem or self actualization quadrants. But because our brain sees criticism as a primal threat, it's actually placed in safety needs quadrant, which is much lower in the pyramid.
Do you even know what astrophysics is? This is the future of our planet. How can our future depend on a man who cannot even open his mouth? May I? Whoops. Sorry. Okay. The final test is tomorrow, and you can thank our chatterbox because I didn't have time to end my lecture. Dismissed.
Yeah, buddy. You don't really think you can become an astrophysicist, do you? You can find an occupation of your rank and buy a dictionary for starters.
Yeah.
Actually, Mr. Dayton, I wanted to introduce you to Dr. Smith. We're honored to have you here today with us. Dr. Smith is the youngest student and the most talented in his field. This is the future of astrophysics.
Oh, come on, Mrs. Campbell. We're not here for this. Well, Mr. Dayton, we've not had a chance to talk. Or rather, let's just say, you didn't give me a chance to speak. I hate to break it to you, but this committee right here is not going to promote you to the head of the faculty. In fact, we've been getting a lot of complaints from your students about your inappropriate behavior. I didn't want to believe the rumors. I wanted to see it for myself. So I pretended to be your exchange student for a week. And I must say, this committee is very disappointed in your approach.
Listen, there's been a misunderstanding. Colleagues, I didn't know that he was a doctor.
That's your problem, Mr. Dayton. You don't treat people with respect if you don't think that their status is high. A good professor encourages his students, creates a friendly atmosphere. You, on the other hand, what was it you said? Destroy them?
Yes, that's unacceptable. What a blow to the reputation of our university.
Spare us the quackery, Mr. Cooper. You were his accomplice. It was all happening right under your nose. What did you do? You chose to turn a blind eye to it?
Broadly speaking, there are two types of criticism: constructive criticism and destructive criticism. Both forms are challenging your ideas, character, or ability. Destructive criticism is often just thoughtfulness by another person, but it can also be deliberately nasty and hurtful. It can, in some cases, lead to anger or aggression. On the other hand, constructive criticism is designed to point out your mistakes and show you where and how improvement can be made. In either scenario, always try to remember that you can use criticism to your advantage. Example: Prime Minister Narendra Modi used the opponent's negative remark, "son of chaiwala," to his advantage in 2014 general election. Learning to recognize the difference between the two can help you deal with any criticism you may receive. The way you choose to deal with criticism affects other areas of your life. Therefore, you must put in place mechanisms and strategies to deal with the sharp and barbed arrows of criticism. Nobody enjoys being told they haven't done well. Some go out of their way to avoid any kind of negative feedback. Everything about one's reaction matters, as one's response to criticism can be taken as an indicator of one's maturity and professionalism. It is advisable to take a deep breath and pause before one says anything. It can prevent one from doing or saying something which one regrets later. It also gives a moment to control body language and facial expressions. Generally, when criticized, one tries to give excuses and justifications. Instead, one can articulate what one plans to do differently to improve. Normally, there is some truth in criticism, even when it appears to be given out of spite or in bitterness. It is often a reflection of how another person sees you at that point in time. Perhaps you can ask friends for their honest opinion. One must use criticism wisely as a learning experience and ignore the comments of habitual critics. Being subjected to unfair criticism can be a bruising experience, so one must avoid the experience of damaging one's self esteem or self confidence. It is essential to identify the type of criticism one is facing and understand the intention of the critic. If the criticism identifies a problem, it offers a solution too. A mother mosquito looked after her baby mosquitoes with tender care. As the baby mosquitoes learned to fly, one day they went out without informing their mother. All in the family blamed the mother mosquito for being so careless. Late in the evening, baby mosquitoes returned home with joy. However, they noticed everyone at home was furious on them and reprimanded them for their careless action. The baby mosquitoes too angrily retaliated. Looking at the situation, the mother mosquito took the baby mosquitoes in, served them dinner, and in the process, she listened to them carefully to whatever they had to say. At the end, she gently but firmly rebuked and cautioned them. The baby mosquitoes realized their mistake and apologized. Generally, when people are criticized, they get upset or shut down the doors of communication. Some reject other people's feedback in many cases and refuse to take criticism on board because of their excessive self confidence or arrogance. This deception is called the hubris trap. Dealing with criticism is a vital life skill. Optimistic and successful people handle criticism professionally with objectivity. They look forward to challenges and do not take criticism to their heart. They try to recognize the problem to handle criticism. They serve criticism in a compliment sandwich by saying something nice, giving the criticism, then closing with something very nice. They focus on the work and not on the person. They make suggestions and not orders. It is often tempting to phrase one's criticism as an order if one is in a position of authority. This strategy demonstrates toxicity and fear. It is better to give suggestions rather than order unless it is inevitable. They give explicit feedback. They don't make criticism a one sided blow. They listen to what their subject has to say on the matter. Those who are in the top hierarchy keep their policies consistent and clear. They believe that the inconsistent and vague policies tend to confuse all and will be interpreted as per the situation, ultimately inviting redundant criticism. They know how to criticize others and also have the humility to receive it when needed. They do not dwell on the criticism they receive. Instead, take positives from it and move on. When you receive criticism with these strategies and approaches, you can make a better impression, develop a stronger reputation, and help more people find their way to success. Let me wind up with a quote of the famous philanthropist and industrialist Ratan Tata. Take the stones people throw at you and use them to build a monument. Have a great day. God bless you.